we money get paper. Cause you know we party hard later. Mr. Flex and Papa got the old city locked, but you get the same each and every area. Sipping energy with no chaser.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where in the world you are joining me from. I am Alluminati, and as always, this is the Crypto and Cognac podcast show, sponsored, powered by Alti.com, the one-click crypto wallet for Telegram, WhatsApp, and Discord. And as always, fueled by my friends at Hennessy TT, I'm having VSOP. As per usual, I just cracked a new bottle because we're about to get into a very exciting conversation, one that has been long overdue. This is somebody who I've, been having multiple conversations with over the past year around the NFT space, around the art space, around the creative space. He is no stranger to the podcast via his beautiful wife, and I want to introduce you guys to Mr. Wyatt Gallery himself. Mr. Gallery, how are you, sir?
Oh, good. First podcast where I start with a drink. Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
This is definitely a Caribbean production.
It is. How do you have a Caribbean conversation without drinks? We do lime dry mouth. That's not how we do it.
I'm all for it, especially during the pandemic.
Wyatt, welcome to the podcast. I want to thank you for coming on. I've been saying this for a while, but this conversation is well overdue. I mean, I think we talked about you being on even before we had Anya on, and then schedules just didn't come to pass together, and then she had her stuff going on, and you, as the gracious husband you are, you took a step back to support her stuff. It speaks to the gentleman that you are. But you're here now, and I'm
gentlemen.
Happy to have. So, Wyatt, I always start off by asking people to tell us a little bit about themselves and to tell us how they got to this point, how they got introduced, how they got connected with this crazy world called crypto and blockchain. So, tell us.
Yeah. Well,
who is Wyatt Gallery?
First, Wyatt Gallery is a person, not a place. This is my full birth name. It's not made up. And I'm originally from Philly, and I would move to New York to go to college at NYU. And as I've been a photographer since then, I was fortunate enough to get a grant from NYU to travel anywhere I wanted when I graduated and do a project. And the project I wanted to do was about the diverse Caribbean culture seen through spiritual sites. Right. So I started traveling the Caribbean back in like 97 and ended up living here in Trinidad through a Fulbright fellowship in 1999. So I've had, a real admiration and love for the Caribbean culture, and especially the diversity that exists, that most foreigners aren't always aware of. So I've done a few projects here and books like Tent Life Haiti, about Haiti after the earthquake, and then Jewish Treasures of the Caribbean, about the very little known history of Jews in the Caribbean going back to the 1600s. So both of these books were used to raise money and support those communities. So that's always been a part of my work, is how can I use the photography to support the community that it has to do with. So I've been living in Trinidad off and on since like 99. And Anya has a good friend, Gabriel Abed, who, as you know, has been in crypto since the beginning. And he was fortunate enough to go on a trip with us, where he then was like, I don't pay for anything. You pay for it, and I'm going to reimburse you in Bitcoin. So, I didn't know much about Bitcoin back then, but I was like, all right, that seems good, And I just have held on to it. So that was also good, mostly due to Anya's advice. So that was my real introduction to crypto was back then. So I'm very thankful to Gabe for, you know him, and he's always talking about and putting you on to things and trying to get you to see the matrix of this new world, right? So then last year, he came back to me and said, we gotta do something around the Caribbean and NFTs. We got to figure out a way to get Caribbean artists into NFTs now, so that they don't have this like 3 to 4 year delay of new technology, right? So that we started, trying to figure out like what would that be, and so then Carifty transferred into Island.
Right.
So where, Gabe realized that his company had like a lot of things going on. And so he said, you and Anya should really run with this and let's see what we can do. Because really it's all about like, how do we support Caribbean creatives by using blockchain and the NFT space? So that's like the main underlying mission of Island.
Right. But even even before Island, tell us a little bit more about Carifty and Caribbean NFT and what that is.
Yeah, well, Gabe is just like, I think Gabe's art actually is like forming these groups, So he formed the Caribbean NFT group and invited us to it a while ago. And then, it was like, just keep this thing going, I guess, I don't know. I don't see it as my group really. So I just see it as someone who's trying to like, it's like, I'm the one living in the house right now, but it's not my house or something, So I'm just trying to like keep it going, keep it building, and there's just so many amazing people in this group, the Caribbean NFT WhatsApp group. And I know you also have your own group that has like a lot of members. And personally, I find it hard to keep up with all these different groups right now. But at the same time, they're just a wealth of information and community building and connections, So, I mean, I know you've had a lot of people from the Caribbean NFT group on your show, and I've been privileged to be able to, like, through your show and through these people, be able to learn. And Chantel and Stephen Hadid and Duckman, like all these people are just shedding light, so much information, right? And everything's changing so quickly in this space. But for me, it's been, the reason I'm involved in this is because it's the first thing to light me up in like 4 years.
Right.
The idea of like, how can we, the changing world of the art space because of NFTs is so exciting as an artist. Like, I have a gallery that represents me in New York. I have an agent, I have publishers, I have all that stuff that I've worked decades to build, right? But that doesn't mean it's going to just run smoothly and money's just flying in and sales are just happening, So the NFT space, like this idea that like I can just take my work and put it up somewhere on a marketplace right now in a way that is credible and available and traceable and accessible, is amazing. So it's just exciting, man. And that's why it's like, Anya and I have just been so excited to talk to artists and tell them like, let's talk, let's figure out how NFTs will work for you and your practice, because it's not about like, okay, I'm going to give up painting, I'm going to give up printing photographs. It's just, well, how do you add this in as another
100%.
medium of what you're doing? And I think, honestly, I know I'm sort of like jumping right into things here, but I just think in the future, NFTs are just going to be like e-commerce now, where, you sell all kinds of stuff, right, on e-commerce. 100%. And that's the norm. So I mean, that's where I see it's going to go. And like art is one form of that. And the PFPs is another form of that.
Right.
And tickets and merchandise. And, you know, there's so many options, right?
Yeah, for
So many
sure. I mean,
directions.
and you mentioned something that, you know, we were actually talking about this weekend, at you know, another Caribbean artist's wedding. Shout out to Nick and the whole team. I think they are watching right now from Barbados.
Oh,
But
nice.
you mentioned something. We were talking about, you know, not just the artists like Nicholas who can like easily transition their work into the digital space, but how do traditional artists, traditional creatives who are creating physical pieces, who only know how to create their physical pieces, how are they going to benefit from this space? What are your thoughts around that?
I mean, I think the most important thought is I don't know. You know, like why I don't. The problem with artists is we think we have to know everything all the time
Right.
before we like step into
Get
something.
started.
Yeah, not just artists. Actually, artists are probably the least like that. But in general, like it's human nature that we have to like
Yeah.
see the whole equation before we start.
Right.
And I think one of the things that's helpful in NFTs is to find the ways to just start, you know, and give yourself some space to make mistakes or to not do it perfect the first time and just keep
Yeah.
going. I think
Yeah.
that's when Nick has done really well. Is he just like keeps going. He just keeps producing,
Yeah.
and he's like, I'm trying OpenSea, I'm trying Foundation, like I'm gonna do an airdrop. I'm, you know,
Yeah. And
so
his work ethic is at 100 all the time.
yeah, he's prolific with his work, you know. So I think it's a place where you can experiment and you can play. There's no right or wrongs right now, you know. Some people might say there are, and for them there are, but you can like figure it out. So there's a group I'm working with out in New York, and they're looking at how traditional artists can also exist in the NFT space, and how can traditional art collectors that are
Right.
not crypto enthusiasts, how can they also purchase NFTs in a way that's easy for them? So they're taking work, physical work like paintings, and they're transforming them into like motion based illustrations.
Right.
So like that's one example, right? But I think there's other models too where, like we were talking about, can someone get both?
Yeah.
Can you decide between both? Like the
Yeah.
Damien Hirst project where you get to
Yeah.
choose. Do you get the physical or the NFT? I think like that stuff's exciting. Like I think finding ways to make it exciting and
Yeah.
interesting is that should really be the goal.
Yeah.
You
Like
know?
this guy from New York as well, who worked with Stephen and the on the Poppables project, Bradley
Right.
Hart.
Bradley Hart. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean his work is not like, if you had a closed mind, you couldn't see how his bubble art could be translated into a digital form of it. But with their 3D rendering models that they're able to do out of Creator Labs, they were able to replicate his art in a 3D way that allows it to be represented
Yeah.
very similar to it would look physically.
Well, what you're doing there is like what I hope to do with more artists is just present different examples, and because artists are good at following their intuition. So when they see something that rings true to them, they know. We know.
Right.
Like, yeah, you know what? That's I'm on that.
Yeah.
But you don't want to have to sit down all the time and like come up with the model yourself, right? So what I
Right.
try to do is like I try to just stay abreast of like all the so many different models that are happening, and then be able to say to you, hey, you know what might work for you? Like, let's look at this model, you know? So like if I get to know what you're trying to accomplish, like what your end result is, then
Yeah.
I can like go through my catalog in my head of like other projects that I've seen, and think about, what if we take this? What if we combine these two things, you know? And I coach creatives and entrepreneurs for the last 10 years. So I don't like advertise or market that as much, but that's one of my passions. I love doing coaching. And so that's where I can be like really helpful, is like just listening to people and then helping them find their clarity, guiding them through that to find the clarity that they're looking for. And so that's one of the things, I'm eager to do through Island with all types of artists. And we're talking emerging artists to the most significant, experienced, accomplished artists there are.
Right. And I mean, at the even at the most base layer, all artists can benefit from the verification, the authentication side, the provenance side that blockchain allows, with whether the art is physical or the art is digital. They can actually tie the ownership trail to the blockchain. So I mean, even if it's not recreating the work, blockchain can assist with that, like as we talked about, where we're having a pairing, and that pairing doesn't necessarily need to look like even a digital representation of the work. It could just be a certificate that says, just like you buy a luxury watch or you buy an expensive piece of jewelry, you're going to get a certificate that says, this is what this is.
And you get that now with art. You get like a printout, you get a piece of paper that says this is a certificate of authenticity, right? But there's companies like Verisart that they do that through the blockchain. So you purchase a painting and you're getting an NFT that shows the authenticity. So it's not an NFT. It's not even an NFT of the image. You know what I mean? It's just, so I think that the whole like use case of blockchain, there's going to be lots of uses like that. And, but also like, look, a lot of collectors buy art and put it in storage right away. And those are the serious investors, because they're putting it in duty-free storage, offshore, basically, right? To escape taxes and stuff like that. So what if you could buy that piece, but also have a digital NFT version of it that you can display in your home?
100%.
And what if you have multiple homes? I think in the future, we're going to go to hotels, we're going to go to Airbnbs, and we're going to log in and have our art on that TV, and instead of having framed printed photographs on my wall, these are all going to be digital screens.
And then it feels like home, because you have an element of your space with you. That's actually, I have never thought about that, but that's a great point.
A friend of mine has a company where you buy an apartment and you have ownership of an apartment technically, right? But you don't own any one apartment. They have locations in different cities around the world. And then so you just book when you want time in each location. And then when you show up, they have it set up so that you program in your account. And now, the AC is set how you want it, the NFTs, the digital art on the screens, all that is programmed in, so that whether you're staying in Berlin or LA, you feel like you're at home.
That is actually pretty cool. And
really cool.
And I mean, even we're going to talk a little bit more about Island.io specifically in a short while. But one of the things that I've seen done really well, and for people who are art enthusiasts and who want to be collectors but may not necessarily be at that economic position to access some of the really, really great works, I see some like DAOs being set up where people can have fractional ownership of key pieces of work. So you could literally own, you might not be able to own a Basquiat, like the one that sold yesterday or day before for 85 million, but you might be able to own a fraction of that, for $100,000. because that's where your budget allows. Or you might be able to own $1,000 stake in some other piece. So that's another, for me, another great use case for it, because now it allows art to be able to be priced in a way that the artist can really price their value into their work, because now you're not limited by one person alone having to be able to buy it, or just the people in your immediate space being able to buy it. And I talk to Nick about that all the time. I say, you know what, you don't even understand that. Yes, you feel like, I don't want to outprice the market, but you have to price your work into it, because you've spent, his alphabet project, for example, it's 36 individually created pieces in one piece. How do you price that the same as you would an individual piece? So I think it allows artists now to really extract the value that they've put into their work, since the market is now broader.
Yeah. You got my mind thinking now. I'm like all kinds of ideas right now. But yeah, I mean, there's interesting like use cases of that going on. I mean, a friend of mine works for like an art fund where you are basically investing in art and you're getting like an 18% return annually. You don't own any of the actual art. Like, it's not in your home, right? I've been wanting to do that, like with the WhatsApp groups. Like, could we all go in on a doodle or something, right? And I don't know how that works. Like, does it show up in your wallet? Like, if you only have fractions of it, or I don't know. Well, but investment wise, it's
the fractions will be represented as its own NFT. That would tie into the ownership associated with that the particular NFT, and then as it relates to art or NFTs, you could then rent that out to a museum, a gallery. You can rent it to a brand who wants to use it for some kind of licensing purpose, and the revenue generated from that pays the owners of the fractional pieces.
I love that. I love it. But now you're bringing up another thing that we need to think about more is how can people become a collector and make money from that? So instead of it just being like, oh, well, artists are going to come in and make money, and big timers with money that have a lot of money are going to buy things and sell them and flip them and make money, right? But how can like regular Joes, like how can regular people come in with $100 or something and start making a little money every month off of Nick's NFT somehow? Like I don't know. Like I want to like, how do we generate more collectors, more art collectors? Not just for NFTs, like you said, like in general, like
and I think it's why it's so important that we have all these different platforms. Like, it's not just Ethereum, it's not just Foundation, it's not just OpenSea. There's Tezos blockchain that a lot of smaller artists are able to maybe produce more numbers of a particular piece. So instead of a one of one, they might be able to do 100 pieces of this particular thing, and now people can buy it for $100 rather than one person buying it for $10,000.
But even big artists are using that too. I mean, there's this artist Nicholas Sassoon, who's a big supporter of Caribbean artists, and he has collected a lot of the Caribbean artists that you see on the island website. And he's selling stuff. I can't remember, 10 ETH or 20 ETH on Foundation, and then he'll put something up on Tezos that's like an addition of 1,000, for 10 Tez each or something. And I think that's cool too. Like, I love the idea that you could have different models, and that because artists also, it's like, we want our work seen. We want it to be both limited and special, but also seen. And we want more people to be able to interact with it firsthand, So I think, like, and this is where it gets interesting, is instead of just thinking, oh, let me use NFTs to just put up my work for sale and sell it. What if we're thinking of it like, how can I use NFTs to solve these like bigger problems and like have it all in a way? Like how can I make something that's scarce and limited but seen by more people and impacts more people and makes me money on a regular basis? I like, that's where I think it gets really interesting, and that's where I'd like to be able to have more conversations with with wider groups of people, to just see like what comes up, what are the
I think that's where the value is. If we look at the traditional business space, the people who really are able to derive a volume of wealth are not the people who are selling the most expensive thing to the smallest amount of people. It's the people who can scale the best. Google touches everyone. Facebook has 1 billion friends. Airbnb is across the world. Uber is not in one city or one country. Amazon touches everyone. So it's who is able to reach the most people, like you said, in the most, I guess, experiential way, that will ultimately extract the most value from that community. So it may not be the best model, may not be selling one item for $10,000, but it might be getting it out to 1,000 people at $120 each, and you get $112,000 instead. So
or both, right?
Or both, and then you're able to rent it out as well. You might be able to rent it to a museum, rent it to schools to display, to share with kids, and the owners can also get a benefit.
I mean, when you talk about those companies, right, what comes to my mind is when I used to have shows at the New York Gallery, mostly it's people in New York buying that work. The only cases where that wasn't happening is that if someone had an actual art advisor and they were in New York, right? But now I'm buying NFTs from people in Toronto, people in Australia, and I'm talking just Caribbean people. Right? Like, so the fact that I love the fact that it's like borderless, and instead of feeling like I'm in Trinidad and I only have people in Trinidad as my market. And I mean, come on, how many people are buying art right now in Trinidad, so it's a small group of people, but now you can like expand that worldwide to people that know you and people that don't know you, and start to build a following in that way. And like, I want to go to the show. I think it's next Friday, Bianca Peak. So she's like a young artist that we've collected her paintings, and I love her work. I want to see like, how can we get her into NFTs too, to like just expand what she's doing. But like, I still want to go and like see if there's any new paintings I want,
Yeah, I mean, and interestingly enough, so I got into, I guess, art collecting through my NFT experience, right? And at one point I was just like, you know what? I asked Chris Duckman, I said, listen, send me your Tezos, send me your link. And I just went through his list and I just bought everything that I liked from his list.
I did the same thing. I know. I did it with Rodell Warner, actually, though. I went to Rodell's collection.
And I just kind of bought everything that I liked. But as I started collecting pieces and really starting to gain an appreciation and get a feel for the things that I like, now I've started collecting physical art. And now, so it worked inversely for me. It worked inversely for me. So
that's awesome.
I feel like it's a great opportunity for people to get in and experience, you know, that space of collecting art, even if it's a $10 piece. You know, you get to find something that speaks to you, and all of a sudden you want to find that next thing.
Yeah, you're totally right. It can be addictive. So what feelings did you get when you purchased these first NFTs?
Like, it was just exciting to me, like, you know, like this is mine. Like, so initially, like, I started, because I started thinking, okay, when I build my digital space in the metaverse, I want to have some themes. So the first piece that I bought, it was a gold motion piece that, you know, it was like fluid gold. And then I said, okay, this is kind of going to be the centerpiece. And then I started collecting other like gold inspired pieces. And then one of the gold pieces was a piece of jewelry that was a flower that opened up like this. And then from there was like, I really liked what that artist did. And then I went into their collection, and then he had something with like water, with like bodies swimming underwater. And that was just kind of cool. And I bought something from that. And then I kind of started spinning from there with the themes. And then from there,
I like that.
So for me, my NFT journey did not start with PFPs. My NFT journey started with actual art pieces.
Right.
And then
and I think that's really the beauty of the Tezos, the various Tezos marketplaces, is like, you know, you don't have to be rich. You don't have to have a lot of money. You can literally buy amazing art for $1 US.
Correct.
You know, and it's fun. Like it's so much
and it's
fun,
crazy.
Man.
And it's like, how is this only $1? Like, how is this?
I know, right? I don't ask. Don't ask.
I'm like, you know, no disrespect to anybody and all the functionalities and utility behind some of the PFP projects, but you know, I look at some of the art associated with those PFP projects, and I think, how is this worth 100 ETH and this is 10 Tezos? Like, how does that make sense? But makes it easier for me to collect it.
Yeah, I know, and that's, I think Tezos is such a great entry point for people. Like, if you want to get started collecting, I think people should start on Tezos. It's just, you don't have to deal with gas fees, right? That can always be a big problem with the ETH based stuff, and stuff is inexpensive. And you know, one of the things you mentioned that I want to highlight is like, you're building something. You're not just like buying this one piece. You're actually you're building your collection, and it's kind of like building your wardrobe, right? And like you said, you're creating outfits, and you're thinking in themes, and then you can like go on and like you look at your collection, and like I can't wait. I want to get like a screen, you know, that's like framed and everything, and put everything up and be able to see, because especially the fact that like a lot of these pieces have motion to them. I think that's really exciting for me. I've never been into that type of work before, but when you look at like Riddell Warner's work and Zoe Osborne, you know, like I love their work, and it could never be possible without NFTs. Like they can make the work, but the ease of selling that work is so much harder without NFTs.
100%.
You know, so I think for the digital artist especially, it's amazing, and now we're kind of waiting for the rest of technology to catch up. So we're waiting now to be able to have framed screens, like that's like the norm, right? We're not there yet, but it's going to be the norm.
I mean, I think like you said, well, you know, we're going to go to hotels, and we're not going to have a lot of, you know, space taken up with static art, you know, because it's not built for just one client. You know, I think that is going to move into more, you know, permanent type of spaces, offices and people's
Yeah.
homes and that kind of thing. But I think especially for hotels and stuff like that, where people could maybe go through a list and kind of ask for what theme they want, and then you could change your themes. For this is my night theme, this is my day theme.
Yeah. Have you seen this site called Async?
No, I've not. What do they do?
It's an NFT site. There's a woman from Jamaica that works with them, Shannon Chensi, I think. And so Async has,
last time she was here.
Yeah, she was here pretty recently, right? And this is what's cool too. It's like there's Caribbean people like all over this space. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Working it. And anyway, Async is they have it set up right so that like you create the master work, and then there's layers to that work, right? So if you might buy the master work for like 20 ETH, but there could be like 50 layers that are like 0.5 ETH each or something, right? And so if I own a layer and you own the master, I could have my layer set that it's going to change, at sunset or something. So let's just say it's like, it's going to change from cloudy sky to a sunny sky. Right. Now mine changes, but it changes yours.
Wow.
According to like whatever parameters are set,
Right.
So I like, yeah, you go into, I don't know. It's just, there's so many.
Yeah. So the person who has the masterpiece, the master art, he is actually able to visualize the decisions of 20 different people
exactly
at any given time.
Yeah.
And that is mind blowing. That is actually cool. I'm gonna definitely check that out. Async.
Yeah, Async. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like there's just so many cool like uses going on, man. And that's where I think the creativity is too. Like you can be a developer right now and you're really an artist,
Yes.
Like
100%.
So I think there's just so much opportunity for people here that it's like endless. Like Duckman, right? He's super into a lot of the gaming stuff.
Yeah.
And so he put me on to Axie Infinity game, where there's people around the world that will like play your team for you.
Yeah.
And they're making money by playing your team, and you're making money.
The Philippines, I think their economy took a huge hit during COVID, and they started creating these farms where tons of Filipinos were actually being hired to play Axie for people who owned the Axies and got a salary from just being online playing.
So my scholar was in the Philippines, and I asked a friend of mine from the Philippines, like, is this what kind of salary would this be? Is this a high salary? Is this and they were like, yo, that's a really high salary, like, so he was making a lot more playing this game. And I'm not talking big money here, we're talking 500 to 1,000 US a month or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like a much better. So I don't know. I think everyone should feel welcomed to enter into this new space, even if they don't know what they're doing. And I think that's like the beauty of these WhatsApp groups and stuff. And people like Mark at Zed Lab, and Steven and yourself, and Duckman, like everyone's so generous with sharing information and educating people and helping them like enter in a safe way that they're not, like falling victim to scams or something like that. But I think also it's like, we all have to like take the beginner's mind especially as we get older, right? And if we want our careers to last and transform, like we have to stay in that beginner's mind. And so trying to enter into the metaverse, I'm not a metaverse guy. I don't, it's like, that's not like my thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to check this out. I want to see what it's about. I want to like figure out why it is like this big thing now.
Yeah.
And how can it, so like a project I'm working on right now for my other company called Four Freedoms, we put up billboards across the US with artists' work on it. And a lot of the, not a lot, but I would say like 5 to 10% every year of the billboards get rejected by the billboard companies because of the artwork, the content. It's too risky. It's too controversial. Exactly. And you know, the US right now, it's like crazy, right? So so I was thinking, okay, how do we get these rejected or censored billboards? What if we did a show in the metaverse? You know, what if we put them up on buildings in the metaverse? So if we can't put them up on the billboards in reality, you know, something like that, where then it links you to the website or to the other billboards, or could it be virtual reality? You know, and so I think it's just like it's a place where you have to just kind of stay open and curious right now.
And Stephen in the chats is repeating what you said about being in a beginner's mindset. So shout out to Stephen, Leroy, Christian.
Oh damn! I wasn't even looking at the comments.
Yeah, these guys are over there talking.
Who's Stephen Renwick?
Stephen is one of the guys. He's in my Telegram group, actually, the Crypto and Cognac podcast Telegram group. But he actually was at Anya's Wildflower launch event as well. He's a guy, you know, very, very active in the space in Trinidad, and a huge, huge supporter. I'm not sure what's ZBD. Leroy, maybe you could help us out there. But you mentioned something that, you know, I kind of want to go back to, and I want to touch on. You know, you talked about as an artist, you know, getting older. And one of the things that I've kind of noticed about artists is that artists don't really get an opportunity to retire. And I don't know if it's a cost thing, or if it's like when you're creating stuff that you love, you never want to stop working. But, you know, it brings me to that, you know, this point with NFTs specifically as it relates to royalties. And, you know, it goes back to like that sale of that Basquiat painting that sold for 85 million US dollars this week. And his estate, because he's passed, his estate probably has not seen any of that $85 million or any of the other sales. But had that been an NFT, they would have woken up this morning and they would have seen a credit of a certain amount of money, whether it was 5% or 10% royalties in their wallet without having to do anything, you know, and because of that, you know, residual income, that royalties income, I could see how a lot more artists are able to maybe retire or get to the stage in their career a lot earlier where they're able to just do the work that they want to make at the pace that they want to make it, without having to worry about paying bills and staying afloat and feeding themselves. And I think it's gonna bode very well for seeing better art, you know, because now an artist can truly put that work out. Like I heard you say one time, you kind of know it's done when it's done. Like you just kind of know when it's time to walk away from the project. And I want to see more artists get the opportunity to, you know, just work on something until it's done.
No, it's a great point. I mean, artists don't retire. They don't have 401ks. They don't have their savings and investment plans, you know, I mean, mostly. And that's a problem. And they don't get royalties on the auctions, and people buy them just to invest in them and flip them, and they're making great money, and the artists aren't seeing that. So I think that's one of the things I love about the NFT culture is the royalties. I think they could even be higher, to be honest with you. I think there's also companies now where how you start collecting physical art because of buying NFTs. They're now working on how do we make sure physical art also gets royalties built into it through that same type of NFT based
Certification.
authenticity certificate. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's really interesting to see how the NFT culture is now influencing the traditional art world as well. And, you know, I'll say also that I think artists are the guides to society. I think artists guide us forward with future forward thinking and out of the box thinking. And if you look at physical neighborhoods, right? Artists are the ones that move in first. And you know, like, I'm not saying gentrification is 100% a good thing, but artists are the ones that are making it into a new neighborhood for these real estate developers that then go and prosper on it.
Yeah.
And so artists are the seers into how society can be better, how we can all live a more free life and a life of equality for everyone. And so we need artists to do their work, not to have a 9-to-5 working for clients. And that's what NFTs can do. And so, yeah, I want to see, the reason I'm involved in starting Island is because I want artists to have the freedom to just do their work, to literally to do what they were meant to do in their lifetime and have the impact that they're meant to have.
So on that point, tell us about Island. What does Island do? How are you guys supporting, I'm guessing Caribbean artists?
How are we supporting them?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's like a moving target. So the first way was Nicholas Huggins and Chad Ross, Anya, and I said, people are coming into this chat. They never know how to find anyone's work. So why don't we just create a website that's a catalog of any NFT projects out of the Caribbean or anyone from the Caribbean. So that was the starting point of just like having one place where, because I'm talking to curators in the US, I'm talking to people that, you know, we're trying to, anyone right now actually can hit me up. You know, we're looking to give grants to artists, not me personally, but my organization in the US, where it also comes with like artist business training and stuff, right? So how do the curators find people? They can't. You can't go on to OpenSea or Foundation and type in Caribbean and find artists from the Caribbean. So the whole starting point of Island was like, how do we just connect the collectors and the curators to the artists and the projects? So to me, that's the first step. And then the second step is launching a DAO with a treasury that can then both collect work from the Caribbean and fund work from the Caribbean. And so that could be in the form of grants to fund like substantial projects, and also smaller forms like microloans for minting, if you need minting funds. So we're trying to fill a hole of like, what support do artists need right now? I think they need money to work on their projects, right? They need more time. They need, I think all artists need coaching. They need access, right? They need connections. They need exposure. They need marketing. They need collectors. They need curators. They need to, like Zoe Osborne. I don't know how she's doing it, but she's doing amazing. She's in shows with Super Rare. She's on, you know, getting on multiple platforms, right? So she has a full-time job. What would it look like if she didn't have to have a full-time job? How can we help with that? Right? So that's what Island, so I can't tell you like, oh, Island is just this thing, right? Like, because we're really trying to come from a place of support, which is more like a nonprofit type of business. So we're focusing on the DAO and focus on educating people, guiding people, and supporting.
So I feel like, this is an apt time for me for us to jump into the Crypto Caribbean TV tips. And what I want you to do is just, speak to any young, old, new, physical, digital artist out there about what you would advise them to do as they start looking into this space. So we're going to get into that. So
I'm loving that.
Wyatt, this is the Crypto Caribbean TV tips. So go ahead and drop some knowledge for the artist, for the creative, even for the collector.
The first tip is get in touch. Give me a shout. I would love to talk. And so would Anya and Nicholas, and we're happy to guide people right now, right? We're trying to work with big brands, big celebrities, all the way down to the emerging artists. So we also are launching the Island Studio, which is going to be developing large-scale NFT projects and offering strategy and advice and coaching, and hope to work with all the other creators to develop these projects. So I think that the most important thing is just start. Start now. Take one step forward. Yeah, that might mean get your MetaMask wallet. That might mean open up your profile account on OpenSea or on Foundation. I think that momentum is built out of many small steps, and the first steps are the hardest. So just start taking small steps and forget about the big ones if you want to get started. If you're a collector, go to island.io. Check out the different projects on there, and you're going to see that there are artworks from $1 to $10,000 US, right? So it's a full range, right? And that's going to direct you to the links on the Tezos platform, on Foundation, on various platforms. You don't have to figure it out. It's all right there for you. But yeah, you gotta, the next thing is that one of the challenges in the Caribbean is getting crypto, right? There's a guy helping with that. Who am I talking about? Sorry, I'm forgetting his name. Is it Jarian?
Jarian, yeah, and Best Exchange.
Best Exchange. Hit them up, right? If you don't know how, ask a question. Everyone's pretty nice in these chats, join 100%. Your group. You are a wealth of knowledge, right? So they should be like, okay, what group can I join tonight? How do I get into one of these groups to start getting some information? We're going to launch our Discord soon so that we can reach a larger audience and not have to have just rely on smaller private groups.
Yeah,
but I don't know, maybe I'll talk to you and you'll tell me the beauty of Telegram and why we should go there.
Is super nice. Thank you very much for that, Wyatt. So we're already 53 minutes in. It passes really quickly, but so now I really want to focus on all the important things that you want to share, all the contact points, what you guys are up to next, some of the things that we can look out for from yourself, from Island, from For Freedom. Where can people access your work? I mean, you've talked a lot about all the other artists that you work with. Where can we find your Wyatt Gallery's work?
Honestly, I've put my work on the back burner a little bit to try to focus on how Island can support the wider community of Caribbean artists. So I need to get back to my work too. But I have just participated in the biggest photography blockchain NFT project to date. That's called The World Today by Obscura. So if you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you're going to see me posting about these things. My website has all of my past work. And, soon I'm going to put some stuff up on Foundation. But I don't know. I mean, honestly, like I've just been more like enthusiastic about finding ways to support Caribbean artists right now and get
Yeah.
people into the space and get Caribbean art seen internationally.
Okay. So what are you guys doing next? I mean, Anya was kind of telling me that you guys are maybe thinking about doing an event coming up in June. If you guys could schedule something inside NFT
Yeah.
NYC.
Yeah, we're talking to a marketplace right now about doing a co-branded event with them at NFT NYC. That would be based around the Juneteenth holiday, you know, which celebrates
Yeah,
freedom
yeah.
and abolition of slavery. So we're hoping that we could do that and integrate some Caribbean artists and artwork into that event. And we're also planning to launch a DAO in June, as well as the Discord and the NFT studio. So we're already talking to a couple like big name, can't say who yet, but clients that could, you know, be some big projects for us. And what excites me too is like we're always trying to think how can we like involve everyone. So if we get like a big client, it means okay, we're going to Zed Lab to deal with like tech development, and we might be going to like creator labs to deal with 3D designs or wearables, right? So our goal is like how can we use everyone to build together.
Yeah.
And so that the DAO would also be like that. So it wouldn't be our DAO. How can it be the Caribbean NFT community's DAO? And we're as a group funding and collecting and supporting, because the problem is like people are putting out great work, but who's buying it? We don't have enough people buying it. And so I want to get more people buying Caribbean NFTs. And so the DAO, I think, will be a mechanism that we can do that. And so the event in New York, the DAO, the Discord, and then the NFT studio. So we're hoping like if you're an artist, like hit us up, you know, follow us, Island NFT, and contact us. And soon, you know, we're going to have that availability to help you get started.
Yeah, sounds really good. Is there anybody you want to shout out before we go? Your team, wifey.
Well, we gotta shout out Gabriel Abed and the Abed group,
For
obviously.
sure, the Godfather.
Yeah, the Godfather, and I think I have mentioned a lot of people. I'm sure I'm forgetting some people that have been important and big, but I think this is making me think of something else now. Is like on Island, I want to add like a directory where you can connect to Jerian, you can connect to Zed, you can connect to Creator Labs, you can like resources where you can find, you know, your podcast. And I think that's something I've always been a connector, and so that's where I'm looking to just keep connecting, and seeing how that can support and build, you know, this new space in the Caribbean.
Yeah, and I mean, I love what you guys are doing. I mean, one of the things I absolutely love about the crypto space, as you spoke about before, is that the willingness of people to share, especially at this early stage. I guess everybody understands that here's what we're nowhere yet, you know, and until we get the next billion people on, we have not even started to scratch the surface. So everybody is just like hand in hand, arms around each other, doing the work, getting it done. And you, like myself, don't want to see the Caribbean left behind. We want to see the Caribbean not just participate but dominate in this space. And we already have, like you said, one or two people in very, very strategic places doing extremely huge things. But we need for other people to see them. That's why I have this podcast. I need people to see what you guys are doing and understand that, you know what, someone has already kicked the door open. Now you just have to follow them through. Here they are.
Yeah. Your podcast is amazing, man. You have such great guests on every week. I'm always impressed. It's always people I really want to hear from and learn from. I think, you know, really hats off to you.
Thank you, man.
And especially like from what I know of you, you were like a finance guy before. It's not like you come from the media world or something.
Correct.
You know? So just like doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to use the talent that you have. I've kind of been around this space. I've done some DJing, some MCing casually. And I feel like, maybe I have a gift for entertainment. I think if my dad was a different person, I may have gone that way. But I think in this space, it's important for everybody to understand the value that they can bring. And everybody can't be a developer. Everybody can't be an artist. Everybody does not have the capital to fund projects or whatever. But everybody out there has something that they can contribute to this journey, contribute to this broader goal to get in the Caribbean connected. I'm very good at networking, so I think that's part of my superpower. So let's do it.
Yeah, and I'll say also, like, Anya is really good at taking on things where she doesn't know it fully, and she's so good at reaching out to different people and being like, how do I do this? How do we do this together? And so I think also, like, all of us can follow in that model, but also it's open to, like, Anya, and I'm seeing Stephanie Telemack in here, where the focus not on Caribbean creators, but like how are women able to get more involved and take the control and not just in as an artist, but like on all sides of it, developers, owners, creators, collectors. So I think we all, like, I'll tell you this: how do I get a Stephen Renwick in my life? Okay, this guy's in here with fires and hundreds.
He's a super supporter.
I need this encouragement daily. I need this, like, got to keep going. Stephen Renwick's going to be there, like, with the running emoji and shit, right? And like, I need one of these guys. And the reason I'm saying that is, like, honestly, we all need that right now. Yeah. This time is tough, bro. We're all worn out and burnt out, 100%. And we need support. We need encouragement. And that's what I'm hoping we can all provide to each other in this NFT space, and then have that NFT space ripple out to the wider communities in our lives. So, you know what I mean? So it's not just like, oh, you're in Web3, well, then you're nice to people and you're helping people, right? But that's like rippling out to everybody. Yes. And so I want to see that support, and I'm eager to see, like, what Stephanie's Renaissance Women, what impact that has, and what impact Wildflower, and like the educational things and the events and like all these different things. Like, I'm so curious and eager to see the impact, and then how the ripples start crossing over, right? And then spreading out. And that's what you're doing with this podcast. And so I think I'm just really trying to play catch up with you guys.
Yeah, but I mean, lots of work to do. One thing I love about the projects that these women do, and maybe it's their maternal nurturing instinct, but no woman who has been in this space, who has brought forward a project, has just been about the project. Like Anya and Wildflower, what she's doing with her foundation, what Renaissance Women is doing with those 3 charities in terms of giving back to women. I mean, that's what I love about this space as well. Yes, we can make money, and yes, we can have financial success, and we can create beautiful pieces of work and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it really touches on a social level. And I think that's so important, as you kind of alluded to. So I want to,
very important.
We crossed over the hour. I want to thank you so much for being on. We have many, many more conversations to have. We have many more conversations to have. I look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much. Shout out to the team at island.io. 4 freedoms. We need. Go ahead.
It's Island NFT.
It's Island NFT. No dot.
No dot.
Okay,
we just got the dot just so no one else would get it. But it's Island NFT. And I'm Wyatt Gallery across the board on social media and web.
I wanted to mention this. Since you said, this is my real name. you have one of those names that kind of spoke to what your destiny is. Like the way that Usain Bolt is Usain Bolt, and it
Yeah.
like how do you even plan for that? And you are Wyatt Gallery. That how do you even plan for that?
Yeah,
It's
I
just
was
insane.
just destined to confuse people, basically.
A person, not a place.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a name of Irish origins from my dad and their Boston roots. But you know, my parents were art collectors. They started collecting photographs when I was born, and so I was fortunate enough to grow up around art. And so my parents, I don't know if you were saying your dad didn't encourage you, but you know, they did encourage me, or at least
No,
accepted.
my dad was actually a Calypsonian, one of the most popular,
Really?
most successful Calypsonians out of Tobago. So,
Wow.
but
Who's
you
that?
know, his lifestyle. His name is Calypso Prince, um, the late
Amazing.
great Calypso Prince. But you know, if his lifestyle was a little different, maybe I would have gone down that path. I think I was afraid of, you know, falling into some of the negatives associated with that lifestyle. So that's why
Right.
I stuck to banking. You know, I got into banking 1 week after finishing high school, and I stayed
Wow.
in finance and insurance. And I stayed in banking for a few years, and then moved over to insurance and finance, and was there until I found crypto, which technically is still finance.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Great story, man. Love to
Yeah,
hear about that.
for sure. So Wyatt, thank you again for being on. Truly appreciate you, man. And I look forward to us having many, many more conversations.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me.
Have a good one. Guys, as always, thank you for spending your Thursday evening with me. For all the guys who was in the chat, Stephen, yes, I'm gonna take that name, Crypto Prince. I'm gonna go buy that ENS right now. As I always say, and as Stephen is reminding me in the chat, adoption is inevitable, guys. Be good. Illuminati.